Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies. We sound a little bit different. We look a little bit different today, Joe. We're actually in person for once. What a concept.
Look at us. Back together again.
Who'd have thought? Look at us, right? Look at us. Now we are at Raleigh Country Club today, the UNC Health Championship, part of the kornferrytour. So thanks to them for the hospitality. We're here in the Ross Pavilion on the 18th green. Of course, you can't see, if you're watching on YouTube, you cannot see the 18th green. We had to shift the cameras because the backlighting made us look terrible. So I'm using the natural cloudy skies to make us look just gorgeous.
I was going to say, blame the backlighting? That's the problem? Not us?
Yeah, it's not us. It has nothing to do with our faces.
All right.
It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with a couple of dudes in their 40s with short to medium beards, putting on a little dad bod weight. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that the camera without proper lighting is going to look a little weird.
Always blame the equipment.
Yes,
right. Just like my golf game. It's not me. It's the ball. It's the driver. It's the putter. I can't decide what I want more, though.
Yeah.
We're out here. This is the 18th hole. I want this guy standing right before a bunker trying to find all of my tee shots, right? I need one of those. And we're here in this pavilion, which provides a backdrop. I would be hitting this thing all of the time. I'd be playing at the bank.
Yeah.
Like if I was on the tour, you know, you're supposed to get it as close to the pin as possible. No, I would just be trying to whack the thing off of the backstop and be like, no, you play it off the bounce. It's like Michael Jordan tossing pennies rules here.
So we'll
get the bounce.
We'll chat with the tournament director here at UNC Health Championship at the Raleigh Country Club a little bit later on. We're also going to check in with Tom Dundon, a conversation we had with the Carolina Hurricanes owner. We recorded that yesterday after we recorded our Tuesday show. It was a very, very extensive conversation with Tom Dundon.
He was in full Brad Pitt Moneyball mode, too.
He really was.
Full.
He really was. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But the news of the last 24 hours that impacts college basketball is Elliot Cadeau. He's going to reclassify and join UNC's roster this upcoming season. Now, if he is as gifted as if he's as gifted as a passer as people have pointed him out to be, and I'm going to defer to Sherelle McMillan.
Yeah.
My friend Sherelle inside Carolina, whose job it is to go to these things, watch these guys, see their development. Cadeau apparently has been off the charts on these circuits, the IYBL being the most recent one, to the point where it's clear he's ready for that next level.
Yeah.
He's not really gaining anything by playing at the level he's in right now. So they're going to take the risk. UNC is going to take the risk, have him reclassify for this upcoming season. And while it is a gamble, I really do think it's a gamble that's going to pay off for UNC. There's a lot of guys that if this works out, if they can get through the chemistry in November, December, and get things ready for conference play in January, if it works out, the two happiest people are going to be RJ Davis and Armando Bacot, man. That's how I see this.
All right. So I'm really trying not to be actually guy to you right now, because we've had many examples of people reclassifying in the triangle,
we
right?
Have, yes.
So you have the classic Andre Dawkins, right? At Duke, where he was 3 years in high school. And it was, you're coming in early, right? Like you're truly coming in early. Cadeau is an 18-year-old from Sweden, has been playing in the greater tri-state area of New York and New Jersey recently. So he's fully 18 years old, right? So it's not that part of it, like maturity-wise, being 17, being young, that part of it's not much of a risk. To your point, it's more of you're now adding a new piece to this mix after the portal is closed, and you have to like the moves that Carolina made in the portal. And Harrison Ingram, in my opinion, was the best piece of that 3-4 kind of defender, a guy who can facilitate. But you look at the moves that they made now, and by adding a true point, which is what Cadeau is, this makes your shooters, Cormac Ryan and Paxton Wojcik, better. This makes the additions of Ingram and Withers as kind of wings who can defend the 3 and the 4 better. And to your point, this makes RJ Davis, who now doesn't have to truly initiate all of the offense, better. And any true point is going to make your post Armando Bacot better as well.
Okay, so let's start with RJ Davis first, because I was reading Brendan Marks last night, trying to get a sense of, what their rosters is looking like on The Athletic. Shout out to Brendan. And, there's a lot, understandably, there's a lot of questions about chemistry, whether or not RJ Davis is going to be happy with the fact that he's not going to have the ball in his hands, that he's essentially been alternating with Caleb Love in terms of being a primary ball handler. Totally get that. But where did we see Carolina truly fly last year? When RJ Davis was able to go get buckets, okay? When Armando Bacot was how many times do we hear Hubert Davis talk about how Armando Bacot needed to be a focal point of the offense? Now, here's where things get interesting. We've heard Hubert Davis talk about modernizing the Tar Heels.
Yeah.
Okay. However, there's a little bit of a throwback
I was going to say,
element.
this feels old school to get a pass first true point. Because when you think of Carolina, yes, you think of Dean Smith, you think of Roy Williams, but truly you think of the one. You think of the point guard and the guy that makes that offense go.
And they're making comparisons to Kendall Marshall, which these are good comparisons to make. And if you're Armando Bacot and you're going to be running this break, guess who's going to be able to move? That's the part that I think everybody should be happy about. But again, there are risks when you reclassify and putting a guy in this element now. But at this point, if you're UNC, I feel like there's a sense of urgency at UNC after the way last year went to really hit that reset button like we talked about. That reset button, my argument with that reset button was maybe it's time for not just Caleb Love, but for Armando Bacot to move on and RJ Davis to move on. Let's see what Hubert Davis can do with his group. While he recruited those guys, remember, it's Roy's team that he ultimately inherited. So let's see what it looks like when it's his guys, once he's identified. And I feel like maybe he does believe in Bacot, maybe he does believe in Davis, and Cadeau is the key that can unlock what he really wants to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, this just makes all of the other portal moves better.
Yes.
Like individually, you look at it and you go, okay, Cormac Ryan was at Stanford. He was at Notre Dame. He's a perfectly functional ACC player, but he's not going to come in here and kick ass and take all kinds of names, right? Paxton Wojcik, is the cute story. He's on the floor. His dad was the assistant coach. Obviously shot the ball at a high level at the Ivy League. Is that going to translate? Is he going to come in here and take 20 shots a game? Of course not. But he's a shooter and he's going to help. And there's going to be games where you need those two players in particular. Ingram, again, is someone we think of like these classic Carolina molds. I don't think he's Pinson. I don't think, he's one of those types of players, but I think he has a skill set that's really going to help them. You mentioned Davis and Bacot. So much of last year stagnated, and Bacot at his strength is a garbage man. That's his strength.
Yeah, you've always said that.
When you try to bog everything down with him and score everything in the half-court set, it makes it really difficult. That's hard to do for anyone, let alone one player who's slightly limited in his offensive skill set. But when you're in a situation where he's rebounding, when you're in a situation where he's in the open floor, running the floor, which quite frankly, we did not see Carolina run all that much last year.
We didn't.
Right?
We didn't.
So I think this makes their best players better. And then I think it helps their complementary players who they brought in, who people were rightfully excited about. This just adds a little bit of that seasoning, which I think is going to be different for Carolina, yet somehow very familiar in the way that they're going to play.
There's nowhere to go but up when it comes to how they moved the ball last year. They were near the bottom, if not at the bottom, in terms of assist rate. Which is unheard of for Carolina. I think as Brendan pointed out in his athletic piece, you got to go back to the Matt Doherty years, and nobody ever wants to go back to the Matt Doherty years when it comes to particular statistics. Although the one thing Matt Doherty never did, he never lost to Clemson at home. So he's always going to have that. But you got nowhere to go but up. And that's why at the end of this conversation, we can bring up the risk. You can bring up the reclassification. Sometimes there's success stories. Sometimes there's not. In this particular case, I feel like this is worth the risk. And again, I get back to that sense of urgency. While you and I both agree that any conversation about Hubert Davis and his future is silly, because you have to have some sort of growth period for a guy who's never been a head coach at one of, if not the top job in college basketball, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. But I go back to that conversation we had with AD Bubba Cunningham when Hubert Davis was hired, and I asked him directly, do you account for a learning curve? And Bubba said, no. And you know who else does not account for that learning curve? Big money boosters who want to make sure that the decision that Roy Williams made in his successor is going to pay off better than Mike Krzyzewski's decision for a successor and Jon Scheyer. That's always at play. So given the way the year went for Jon Scheyer last year, given the way that they've been recruiting and however everywhere else is going, I do get a sense of urgency for this Tar Heels group, and Cadeau really can pay off for them. And I think it's the right move to do.
The only thing I would say about Cadeau at 6'2", I know a lot of people have talked about Kendall Marshall, and even my sources at Carolina, like, yeah, he's a passer like Kendall Marshall. Thing to remember about Kendall was he was 6'5", had a good size.
Yeah, defensively, things might be a little interesting.
Cadeau's 6'2". He's a little bit smaller. That doesn't mean he doesn't have the vision. You mentioned the EYBL league. There is a correlation between what your stats are in that league, which is the highest level on the Nike amateur circuit, amateur quotes, and to what you're going to do as a college basketball player. Maybe not as a freshman, but the guys who shoot the three well in that league shoot the three well in college ball. Cadeau averaging more than 10 assists per game in the EYBL. That is bonkers.
Housekeeping. A little bit of housekeeping. We're on Instagram now, Joe.
I saw that.
Shout out to our social media director for finally getting us. We have a social media director.
Our social media chief executive.
She got us going on places like Instagram, TikTok, and some other spots as well. But more importantly, we're on Instagram. So go ahead and check out OG Triangle Media at OG Triangle Media on Instagram. We're gonna be playing around with reels and some behind the scenes stuff as the sun starts to come out here at the UNC Hospital Open, UNC Health Open at Raleigh Country Club. So yeah, go check that out at OG Triangle Media. We're on Reddit as well. If you look up the subreddit, Friends of the OG, r/Friends of the OG, you'll be able to find us there. And we're trying to get different little communities going that's not so dependent on Twitter, because I know not everybody's on Twitter. Not everybody's as extremely online as I am when it comes to Twitter. So by all means, go check that out. Real quick question. How badly do you want to get out there right now?
Maybe not on this hole, because 18 is very difficult.
Yeah.
But I would love to go over to 17 and play the par 3. That's for sure.
Is that Shane? I think that's Shane Willis out there.
That is Shane Willis.
That is Shane Willis. How about that on the 18th?
Look at him repping.
As the pro. Yeah, I was going to say, I see a Canes polo. And I'm like, is that Shane? I don't know. It might be Shane. Anyway, you know what? I asked you this question before when we knew we were coming out here. Where do you think I could set up with like a Smoky Joe, a Weber Smoky Joe, hit the butcher's market, get some steak tips, and come out here and grill? Would they allow that?
I think so. I think we want to get over on the 15th, between the 15th tee box there. There's a view of all of the different holes out here, and you have a great options, just as you have options at the Butcher's Market. Check them out. It's thebutchersmarkets.com. They got 6 locations: Raleigh, Cary, Wake Forest, Holly Springs, and of course, Wilmington, where we are huge. All of your grilling needs. They also have sandwiches, as our loyal listeners have figured out, just as I did. The steak and cheese is completely and totally legit, the best there is in the Triangle. So go check them out at the Butcher's Market nearest you.
Also, shout out to Oak City Sports Cards. We got a video of Giglio trying to find a Victor Wembanyama signed card. He came up empty, but we do have a video in the OG Overtime playlist on YouTube that you can check out, where I start getting fascinated by the fact that Garbage Pail Kids still exist. I'm very excited about that.
It wasn't just not the French mob. Like, there's an Armando Bacot in that set. There's Brendan Armstrong in that set.
Yeah, you're looking for the Brendan Armstrong.
Like, man, there's like state guys, Carolina guys, because Weston's going to buy it back from me.
I know.
If it's a local guy. We did get a Jeremy Roach card, so maybe we'll work something out with Duke to get Jeremy to sign that. But you want to buy your cards, sell your cards, get them graded. It's important to get your cards graded in order to get the maximum value for you. Weston can do that. It's going to give you a fair deal. It's going to give you an honest price. Go check them out in downtown Raleigh or oakcitycards.com.
Move on. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, Tom Dundon. Tom, we appreciate the time. Last time we talked to you, we had radio equipment. The stadium series was going on. You now join us on our podcast adventures.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you guys figured out a medium. Is that the right word? Medium?
Yeah, medium. Yeah, platform. We're figuring it out as we go along, man. I kind of feel the same way with you as an owner of a professional sports franchise. I'm curious the progression of taking over the team, building a team, understanding this window that you have, and just the way this series played out. I'm not saying that you didn't feel the previous exits any more or less, but I felt like this one hit a little bit different because of the close nature of everything and how you got to this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to remember, right? It always feels shitty to lose. Like I feel terrible in a regular season game. But I agree with you. I think it was worse, but I don't know if it's just because it was more recent, and mostly probably because, over the years, as we've gotten better, your expectations start to change, and our expectations are probably ahead of our results right now, where I think it was the opposite of that in the beginning.
Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon joining us here on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. And you look at the way that the series unfolded, Tom, and I thought the big question going into it was in goal, and your goalie was outstanding. And you look at the other side, he was pretty good. And then you look at some of the goals that were scored by the other team. It's almost like, I'm not trying to give you any excuses, and I you don't want any, but looking back at it, and I know Rod said it, like 4 games all decided by a goal. It just didn't feel like, certainly didn't feel like a sweep. It certainly looked a whole lot closer than 4 games to none, too.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the hard part that's the thing I struggle with hockey. And, it's kind of like when I talked to you guys a month or two ago, the odds don't move very much, right? Once you're in the spot we're in, your outcome is so based on luck, right? Hitting a bunch of posts when you get a call. And I don't think, if you go back and look at where the shots all came from and how often they happen, which is the only way to really judge hockey over time, I think you'd be pretty happy if you just saw those 4 games play out with those opportunities, then you would take that. And the probability that we would lose all 4 of those games, given how we played and where the opportunities for both teams came from, it's against all odds. And that's, I think, the most frustrating thing is you can go back and say, how do we get better? And there's always places to get a little better, but there's not as many as you would hope when you lose 4 games in a row. You would hope that we could go identify a problem. And the problem is just, you only play 4 games, and sometimes you hit the post when the goal's wide open, and sometimes they get one chance and win. And that's going to happen. It's why we're trying to make sure we're good every year. It's why we don't want to put, like what happened to Boston. I think they have to feel as bad or worse because they had this super team that I was really impressed with what they built. And but some of the decisions they made are for this year, and we try not to do that, right? We're trying to give ourselves a great chance every year, and I think this is why. It's because you can't control some of the things that actually affect the outcome a lot more than the decisions we make. Any one decision doesn't help your team that much. 20 of them help a lot, if that makes sense.
Tom Dundon, owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, joining us here on Ovies and Giglio on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. So that gets me to, I guess we can kind of look back and then look forward as you try to address some needs this offseason or look at contracts and go in different directions. When we talked to you at the Stadium Series, I think Giglio and I were both kind of pushing on, hey, go make a move, right? You had $10 million in cap space. You looked how the rest of the East was playing out. You see some of the moves in New York. You mentioned Boston, et cetera. And do you feel justified? You told us, like, no, we don't want to mortgage the future. We like our group. This is a window that we want to keep going. Do you feel somewhat justified with the way things played out? Not in how you got to the Eastern Conference Finals, but how the rest of the playoffs sorted out as well?
Not necessarily. I mean, look, we try to make some moves. There's been a number of really good players move teams the last couple of years, and I'm aware of what we did and why we didn't end up with some of those players. And so I don't have any regrets on any of the deals. I can tell you that, like where we got to and the decisions other teams made. What people don't realize, I think, when you're not in it every day is you could have an asset that's worth more than someone else's asset in our mind. But if the need or the decision that someone else is making is based on short-term or long-term or position need, or, there's all these other variables. But we don't go after assets worth $1 and offer offer 80 cents. If an asset's worth $1, we're going to offer the dollar. And if it's worth more than $1, we'll pay more. And so, yeah, I don't have any regrets about any of the decisions we made because we don't control both sides of the transaction. And I think we've always felt like if we didn't get a deal that we really wanted, it was because our fit was wrong. Now, look, you throw Aho or Svechnikov or Slavin out there, we're not doing that. But if you take out some of those things, yeah, we're pretty aggressive, and we just didn't do certain things. But and candidly, if you look at what happened, I'm not sure. We played a couple of those games where they were in a very high percentile of games we've played in the last 5 years, and games that you should win 70, 80, 90% of the time. And we didn't. And, what are you going to do about that? Right. You can't think one player was going to make you play better than a game that was better than all the games you've been playing. Right. That's, sure. It's easy to have a different judgment after you have more information. Right. But I try to look at where we were when we made the decisions.
Okay. So about that, you've mentioned probability a bunch, chances, the chaos, the organized chaos that the playoffs can be. So I kind of get the sense that some of the offseason discussion that we've had, I know Luke DeCock and I and Giglio just talked about this on the previous show about offseason needs being maybe not something that's analytically something you're looking for, but more feel, something more sandpapery, more bunch of jerks, somebody that's willing to take a little extra step beyond the whistle that we see happens to the Canes, something to respond. How do you kind of view those discussions when you talk to Rod Brindamore and when you talk to Don Waddell about needs in that regard?
Look, the first thing we did when I got here is we traded for that Michael Furland, who was probably one of the two toughest guys in the league, and he could play. No one's going to convince me to make our team worse. I'm not going to do it. But if we can get tougher and better, we clearly want to do that, right? We all feel the same, right? No one wants to be bullied. We all feel the same when you look at something and you say, why did that happen? But I look back on Svetch's hit on Lindholm last year, and, I'm not sure that they weren't tough, right? It was just, he was in a vulnerable position. So I probably don't look at any one or two situations and think someone's going to come in here and save the world and make us all tougher. I think we all have to do it. And, I would love to have any player be tougher who also is good. And so I don't think we really have a disagreement on that organizationally. We'd all like to be tougher. I don't know that it matters as much as everybody else does. The truth is, I thought there are a number of times where probably some of the toughness in that series went uncalled that could have had a big impact. And if that stuff gets called, now we're sitting here talking about lack of discipline and some of those different things. And so I'd like to see the NHL continue to refine how they call things. And I think that's a better strategy than just, vigilante justice. I don't think that's really what I want.
I feel like you don't like it when I agree with you, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. Because when we talked to you during the Stadium Series, I thought, all right, you seemed eager to kind of push this team in a direction, not only because of what you had, but because, again, I think you and I were on the same page in terms of what was in the bracket, that it was open up, that this was a chance to win this thing. This was a chance to put your name on the cup. I don't think you didn't understand that, right? But I think where you were right, and it's kind of hard pill to swallow, and that is Florida made their moves in the offseason, which is what you're talking about right now, like the fit and being able to get a guy and add a guy at what price at the deadline. Like it's a really hard tightrope to walk. So I wonder if there is any consolation in the fact that Florida's offseason move kind of proves how you're going about some of these decisions to build your hockey team and put them in the right position to win this thing.
Yeah, look, Boston probably should have won that first series, and if they do, then we're having a very different conversation, right? But same thing happened is Florida's a really good team. They've been on the best teams for a long time, but they probably have had some things go their way. And there's never been a team. Very rarely does the very best team win, right? Like it happens every X years. I don't know how often, but it doesn't happen that often that the actual best team wins. And I always look at it like if you play 1,000 games, who would win? And if that team doesn't win the cup, do you want to copy the team that would have won the most games out of 1,000 or the team that won a tournament that's a little more random? It's a really tough thing to do. And when the tough team wins, you want to get tougher. And when the power play team wins, you want a better power play. And when the team that wins the trade deadline wins, you say, I should have done more. And so I don't know that we're right or wrong. I just know that the cost to rent a player, usually, I think the reason the deadline's interesting is if you're not sure you're a playoff team, then once you know you're getting in and you're a fringe team, you can get better. With a team like ours that's 110, 100 whatever point team, it's really hard to get better, right? The marginal improvement. If you think about how many 125 point teams have you seen in the NHL? So if we're throwing a 112 point team out there every year, the incremental value of another good player is much smaller for us than the 94 point team who is 12 points behind us. I mean, Connor McDavid's probably worth 5 points, 6 points, right? So now I got to go.
So,
yeah. But it feels like he's worth more than that, right?
Yeah.
But if a average or bad team's getting 80, 85 points, first of all, there's no bad teams, right? They're all in the NHL. But relative to the league, if an 85 point team's not making the playoffs and 105 point team's really, really good, you got to figure out how to move it. And so I want to make sure that we win, that we are high probability to make the playoffs every year, because then you get into this, tell me who gets the call, who gets the power play, who gets the timely goal, who gets, when they talk about hot goalies, it frustrates me because when you hit a bunch of posts, then it becomes same thing with our goalies. Our goalies could be good or bad by 3 inches, right? So if you lose and the goalie gives up 2 extra goals, he might not have done anything wrong. And so it's really hard to make decisions off of things that are random.
I feel like with all this talk of probability, I want you and Giglio to play poker. I want to see how that would play out. Giglio, when was the last time? Well, I was going to say, you're probably listening to Tom talk about all these probabilities and going, I'm never going to that sports book in the arena. There's no way. The house is absolutely always going to win based on this conversation.
So this is the problem, though, because I don't gamble because I don't like the idea that the odds aren't in my favor. I can't function like that. Like it makes me unhappy.
That makes sense.
I mean,
can you impart that?
That's gambling.
I don't trade stocks either because I know. No, hell no.
Really?
No, I don't have an advantage.
What, you got a money tree?
Huh? I work. You got to do stuff. I work.
All right.
What?
Speaking,
there's no shortcuts.
Tom, come on. This is not bode well for what we're trying to do here. I'm trying to do SEO and trying to increase the odds and how many people are going to watch things. Obviously, you helped by joining us here on this podcast initiative, so we appreciate that. Speaking of the sports book, I know this week, as of this recording, the mobile sports wagering bill is continuing to go through the NCGA. Where are you on what's going on? Any sort of opinions as to how these things have played out? Do you just want it to happen, and then we can go from there? Where are you on this right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people are working hard on this, and I appreciate everybody, what they're doing. I look at the sports gambling as entertainment, right? It's fun. I think that's why, you guys have jobs. That's what we're all looking to do, right? You work hard so you can then go enjoy your life and do things. So I'm hopeful that this all works, but I'm just waiting like everybody else. I mean, there's some people that are working on it, and I've talked to a few folks, and it looks promising the way I understand it. But when it's done, there's a lot of work to do, and we want to do something pretty neat at the arena and have a big sports book and make it fun. But we can't do it until we know.
I was going to say, what is the turnaround for you if it is passed in this session and they say January 1st? Would you be in position by the next hockey season to have something at the arena, or is that something that needs to be worked on and presented for the following year?
Yeah, whenever you can take your first bet, usually I assume what would happen is it would happen in a more temporary facility kind of way, and then the big thing that we have in our mind as part of the overall entertainment district, that takes planning, and you're probably a couple years out from that, and it goes hand in hand with renovating the arena and developing the area. You wouldn't want, you don't want orphans, right? You don't want something that's there that doesn't have other commerce, right? There has to be more than just one thing out there, or it wouldn't do very well.
Does that feel like, do you have a timetable in your head for some of those renovations? I know we've seen plans and we've argued over parking spots and parking decks and some other things, but is that, now that you have a week of your off season, have you already been blueprints and everything else that's already done?
Yeah, I mean, we're waiting to find out if it's all going to get approved. Like, there's a lot of constituents here, and I think we're ready with a pretty thoughtful start, and then it just becomes what's approved, right? What are we able to do? And I think it's really fun. It's interesting. I think it'll be more than anyone can imagine. It's a yes or no now, right? And that's not they're not giving me the vote.
That's the Centennial Authority when you say approval, or is it something beyond that?
Well, we have to work with NC State. Obviously, they're our partners in all this, and then you have the Centennial Authority, the city, the county, the state part. I think there's more complexities here than I probably understand, but it feels like there's a lot of work being done towards that end, and I think before the season starts, we'll know.
Easier decisions for you, Tom. What do you do with your roster this offseason? And, you got Jordan Stahl, obviously, on the top of that list. I would imagine your captain. What do you do with him? And then in goal, you guys actually made a pretty smart move with Kochetkov to get him under the contract that he's under. But do you feel comfortable, turning this thing over to him? And those are just, two of the big ones that come off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's one of a group of players that it's our hope that only plays here. And so, yeah, he's a pretty big priority. And I can't imagine a scenario where we don't get that done. Look, we have a really good team. And I think right now we're planning on trying to bring everybody back and extend everybody for the most part. People that have 1 year left that we're able to extend. And so that's what Don's working on. But, we're really happy with everyone. And so if they want to come back and we can fit it, for us, we're going to spend to the cap. We've actually spent over the cap with LTIR every year. And it's just making sure that we don't have to end our ability to make the playoffs with high degree of probability, plus have a chance to win, by making decisions that someday we're going to have to pay for. So as long as we can come up with a fair compromise with everybody, I think I hope it's going to look a lot the same.
When you say extend, and forgive my ignorance here, you have obviously a couple of guys, Pesce, Aho, with a year left that I would think would be building blocks here. Do you have to compartmentalize each of those years the way that I look at the salary cap on, the sport track over here? Or are you looking at it when you say extend? Are you talking about some of those bigger pieces with Pesce and Aho?
Yeah. So Aho, Pesce, Shea have a year left, and we can extend their Chatfield. We could extend Jarvis. We can extend all those contracts now. And then you have Foss, Stahl. We don't love the idea of people going into the last year. I think Teravainen's got 1 year left. So if we can get things done a year early, what we've tried to do, and it hasn't worked that often, but what we've tried to do is look at that last year and say, what is the risk for the player? What's the risk for the team? And if we know when you have a player and you like them and they fit and they work hard, to me, that's better than going out to the market when you're trading for a player, somebody else has decided to give that player up. If you're signing a player, someone's decided not to sign them. And there's some amount of risk with that. And sometimes it works wonderful. And you're really fortunate with a guy you trade for. And then sometimes you find out that they knew more than you. And, that risk isn't one I love taking if you're happy with what you've got. So for us, it's really just finding the right term and money to make it work for everybody.
At the risk of bringing up old contentions, does the negotiation with Aho last time have any effect on the negotiation with Aho this time?
Not at all. I mean, I was happy for him, like if you know the kid and you know these people, if you separate the Hurricanes and what is best for the Hurricanes, and then you look at an individual who it worked out for, I think I never once was mad at Sebastian. I was so appreciative that we got it done and that he was here, and he's been unbelievable, right? Like, so yeah, it's irrelevant. Maybe he'll look at it and realize hopefully we were fair and hopefully he sees the way we treated him and knows he wants to be here. And maybe that comes into account when we're going through this, but I don't think he owes us anything because look how he's played, right? And look at the person he is and the leader he is. So it's a new deal now, and he's going to be here. He ain't playing anywhere else, right? Like that's the goal.
All right.
Yeah. So
we've marked the recording.
Yes.
That's good. We've marked the recording. We'll keep that on file. Tom Dundon, owner of the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll close on this. When's the next outdoor game scheduled? We have that on the books yet? Have you hit up Bettman for the next one?
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is if we get the renovations and all that done, and that's a pretty big commitment from the city and the state and the county, that as part of that long-term lease, we'd like to have some things agreed to from the NHL. But that's, I think we have to go first on our side. Here's what the new vision is. And then I bet we have a better chance of getting some of those dates locked in than we would if we just go now and say, I mean, imagine how the other teams would feel if a year later you had one. So I think we need a little bit of cooling off time, but we're not going for drafts and all-star games. We're going to I think we talked about this last time. We're going to just focus on outdoor game. I think outdoor game fits our market and what we want to do.
So no all-star game? The draft I get, but no interest in the all-star game? Because that was a pretty fun event when it was here.
Yeah. No. I think having that stadium right there, and I don't know, just I'd rather do something, focus on something, do it really well, and know it's going to be great than, I don't know, the All-Star game. It's not really really something.
That's fair. That's fair. And now that you've done it, it needs to be fixed, which obviously we've discussed that post outdoor game, and with the renovations, that'll all be part of fixing a lot of those things. Tom,
It'll
appreciate
be way
it.
Better.
Oh, well, yeah. Well,
put my guy Joey Doster in charge of the parking, will you?
Look, a big part of it, just so you know, I think you're going to find traffic and parking gets way better if we can pull this off. Way better, because it's like I'm just obsessive about certain things, and that's the thing of all this stuff. That's the thing that I want fixed, because my whole background was always, when people want to give you money, like when I see lines or people coming to spend their money and we're making it hard, I find that incredibly insane and stupid. And so we're going to make it as easy as it can be. It's hard to get 6,000 cars somewhere, but it should be easier than it is right now.
I don't think you're getting any disagreement from us on that one, especially given 20 some odd years of trying to get in and out of that parking lot for a variety of events. And Tom, we appreciate it as always. I'm sure we'll catch up this off season and getting into next season. Again, appreciate the time.
All right. Good luck, guys. Thank you.
We're moving on.
Again, big thanks to Tom Dundon for spending some time with us yesterday. We recorded that after Tuesday's show. There was a lot to chew on, man, with that conversation with Tom Dundon. The biggest one being that, I think he went full on, like probability, Moneyball, You know, like he was all in on that, which I find interesting, and I don't necessarily disagree with them. I'll be curious to see how they make it work, though, as they're a salary cap team and how they fit all these things with what they say they want to do.
It's fairly obvious too that that's his mantra. Like that's his life thought process.
Yes.
That's not just something he's picked up in hockey. When he said, "Oh, I don't have stocks," I'm like, what? When he's like, "I don't gamble," I get it.
Yeah,
and I was like, "No,
part.
you do if you have stocks." He's like, "No, I don't even have stocks," and I'm like,
Excuse me?
"Oh, okay,
Sure.
Because he's saying if he doesn't have the odds in his favor, if he doesn't have the knowledge, then he doesn't want to do it. So to hear him kind of process the loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they played the game 1,000 times and here's what the outcome would be, that's kind of how you have to help yourself sleep at night in those situations. I'm not saying Florida wasn't a better team. I'm just saying when you look at those 4 games, you go, well, what, as he said, what could we do different? Like, what are we chasing here?
Yeah.
And a part of that has to be, you know, truly looking at it and going, if we did this 1,000 times, I bet you we win 850 of them. And at the end of the day, that's what helps you sleep. And if you have a code, a man's got to live by a code. You know, you've heard me say that before. But this gets back to Rod Brindamore and why Tom Dundon and Rod Brindamore get along so well, why they work so well. It's about the process.
Yeah.
And you have to worry and honor about the process and not worry about the result.
He's not a Han Solo guy. Never tell me the odds.
Yes. He wants to know the odds. He wants all of the odds.
He wants all of them. What are the odds of finding a really cold beer at a breeze through?
100%.
100%.
100%.
The odds are in my favor to find a cold beer in a beer cave.
You'll make the Kessel run in 12 parsecs at the breeze through for sure.
Shout out to Breeze Through for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Locations throughout the triangle. They go beyond beer. Joe's big on the coffee. And you can also pick up snacks and sandwiches. I actually had a turkey bacon wrap from the Breeze Through there by PNC Arena. That hit. I was a big fan of that. Wayne got bugles.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. They had a great assortment of snacks and little nuts, little hot nuts sometimes to hit you in the right spot, especially after a beer, before a beer, during a beer, all those good things. So yeah, check them out. 1200 Edwards Mill Road, Breeze Through Markets, all your drinks, tailgate, travel needs, headed to the beach, stop by, get your stuff, fill up your cooler. You will not be disappointed. Get some gas while you're there too.
Also, shout out to Hometown Realty. Check them out at myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. We know this area is crazy, continues to be crazy. One of the things about the Triangle is that it seems to kind of act on its own. It doesn't necessarily follow nationwide trends as people want to keep moving to this area. And the home market can be pretty competitive. So you need somebody that's going to help you out. And that's where Hometown Realty comes in, not just residential.
I was going to say, you think you need help? Barry Woodward's got you. myhtr.com. Residential, commercial, rental. They're in Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Selma, and Atlantic Beach. They got more than 250 agents. 250. So you're looking for the best possible home buying and selling experience. Check out My Hometown Realty. Again, that's myhtr.com.
And Whitaker and Hamer sponsoring Ovies and Giglio as well. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. Can I call it a one-stop shop? You got legal needs? They got it.
You can, because if you're starting a business, you're selling a business, you have family law, divorce, custody issues, real estate closings, buying a house. Hey, buy a house with my HTR, and then Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer can close the deal for you. They're in Raleigh, Clayton, Fuquay, Morehead City, Goldsboro, and then all of the G's, of course, Gastonia, Goldsboro, and the real G, Garner. Josh Whitaker, Joe Hamer, 919-772-7000. Or again, check them out at the very convenient wh.lawyer. I didn't even know that was a thing, Joe.
Yeah, I talked to with Kelly. I'm like, did you know there was a .lawyer? She's like, oh, yeah, that's been a thing. I'm like, well, should we do like a .radio? .podcast.
.live podcast.
.live podcast.
Next topic.
Joining us now on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, it's Brian Crusoe. He's the tournament director of the UNC Health Championship. We're in Raleigh. We're in downtown. Not that Wakefield's not Raleigh, Brian.
We're close to downtown.
We're here.
We're right in the heart of it.
This is it. You guys had a vision and an idea of where to bring this tournament. Just give me a little bit of what went into that decision. And now that it's a reality, that this place looks, Donald Ross would be shedding a tear today, I think.
Yep. Everybody knows Donald Ross. This is a historic golf course built in 1948. close to downtown, as we mentioned. I mean, back then it probably was out in the suburbs of the city, but now it's right in the middle of downtown. And McConnell Golf owns Wakefield, where we used to play the tournament, and also here. So, when we were talking about the future of the tournament, we wanted to elevate it, make it more convenient for people. Wakefield's a great golf course, and we had a lot of great years there. But this property here allows a different type of feel for spectators and sponsors. It's going to be a new, different test for the pros. And it's convenient for people that live south of the city, downtown, North Hills, to come out and easily Uber here or, drive and check out the tournament.
A test for the pros. All right. So I was lucky enough, thanks to our friend Alan Wolf, to play this course not that long ago. And I'm a 12 handicap, let's say. And it was a test for me. I am concerned, though, that this is not going to be that big of a test for these guys.
Well,
how many yards are we talking about here? Because I feel like length.
The course is
7,400
yards.
Okay.
But, length nowadays isn't the thing that really gives the pros trouble.
Yeah.
So this isn't the type of course they play all the time. So, it's a new course for them. They have to learn it. They're going to bomb it around here, as they do everywhere. But these greens are tough. There's subtleties. The greens are going to be fast. You have to play your way around here a little bit. So everybody's kind of curious to see how that goes. The guys are so good. They're going to make birdies. They're going to play well. But I think it's going to be a different test for them. And, we've had some rain, so it is playing a little softer. So that might help, some lower scoring. But we'll see. I don't think they're going to have some issues out here with some certain pins.
Couple logistical questions for you for people who know RCC. The first hole is going to be a par 4 for these guys.
Correct. Par 4.
What's the distance on it?
That hole plays around 500 yards, but it goes downhill.
Right.
And,
you got the little water there.
Yeah, there's a lake down there. So if they want to try to press it down there, they can. But, if they want to hit a hybrid or something off the tee, they maybe have a 6 or 7 iron into the green. And, we thought that that's a par 4 for these guys and will be a tough one.
Different world for them. And then 6, we're out here, a friend of mine, Chungi, member out here, and we were betting on where they're going to put the tee box on 6. So you're saying it's a par 3, but it's going to be it's going to max out at 275?
270, 275, somewhere around there. They may not play that tee box all 4 days, but they will definitely use it a few days or maybe even 3 days.
That's ridiculous. That's absolutely.
They'll be hitting hybrids or 3 woods. But yeah.
We're sitting here on 18. You have a beautiful pavilion set up here. This is a nice setup. I couldn't envision this. I'm not smart enough to envision this. Did you guys give any thought at all to flipping, teeing off on 10 and finishing on 9? Because 9, gosh, the scoring on 9 could be pretty outstanding during the week. It's a short par 4 if you're not familiar with the course.
Sure. We did that at Wakefield. We flipped the 9, and it was more for a spectator, getting around reason. But here, to me, Donald Ross is somebody that I think knew how to route a golf course and knew where the
he knew more than us.
He knew, he talked about being smart and things. I think he was pretty smart with laying out golf courses. So we didn't want to mess with that. And 9 is an exciting hole. It's maybe drivable, but it comes right to the back of the clubhouse, and there'll be some excitement there for our fans that want to watch that. But 18 here is a 500-yard par 4 finishing hole. It's going to be a test at the finish. The 17th hole, another reason, is an exciting par 3 where we have a Tito's Stillhouse. We have a Hickory Club tent as well, leaderboards, bleachers, all these things, and it's right at the main entrance. So people will be walking onto the property right into the back 9, right into the action. So, it was something we thought about, but not very much.
I was just about to ask you about 17 because that seems like it'll be a nice hub for fans and a place to gather and maybe see again, this course is laid out where you can see a lot. This is a great
the entire property.
Yeah.
You'll walk right in. 17 is going to be our mini version of the Waste Management 16th hole.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of action there. Short par 3. We'll see a hole in 1 or 2 possibly. So there's going to be a ton of excitement there.
And you got my friends from Empire Eats out there as well?
Yeah, great new partnership with Empire Eats. They're going to do all our concessions and hospitality food. They're going to be featuring, their menu items from some of their favorite restaurants, the Raleigh Times, Sithy, the Pit, and Gravy. So people will be able to enjoy. We have a specialty sandwich that they're doing just for the tournament. So come out and watch some golf, great food, action everywhere.
I'm very proud of myself. I didn't call it the Rex. I called it the UNC Health Championship. Has it been an adjustment for you? Because maybe people see the name and go, oh, this might be a new tournament. No, this has been a staple in the Raleigh golf community for years.
Yeah, that's right. We Rex Hospital was the title sponsor of the Rex Hospital Open since 2005.
Okay.
So 18 years and a long history there. But now UNC Health is the title sponsor. We're starting a new chapter, but still have that tradition of 18 years at Wakefield. So the mission is still the same. It's an exciting event, whether you like golf or not. We're involved in the community here, and we just want to put on a first-class event for the city to enjoy and get behind.
And Friday is Canes Day.
Friday is Canes Day. Season ticket holders will get in free. They just bring their little code, and we'll let them in for free to enjoy the tournament. Wear your black and red and silver, and come have some fun. We'll have some cutouts of some of the players to take pictures with, and the Canes will have their setup and things to do.
So I'll let you go on this. And Brian Caruso joining us from UNC Health Championship Tournament Director. We're here at the Raleigh Country Club. Is this a 1-year trial, or do you think this is, because you've had success at Wakefield, they're both McConnell properties. Is this a 1-year trial, or do you feel like this could really be something that you guys could do on an annual basis?
No, we see this as our new home, and I think we have a 3-year agreement here for the tournament. And I think once people come out and see this property, once our sponsors come out, now that the pros will have a chance to compete here, I think it's going to be really clear that this is going to be a very exciting place for people to come hang out, enjoy a tournament. We've got a lot of new community partners here that we're supporting. So we see this as the future of the tournament and something we're going to build and make something really special here.
I lied to you. They're going to let you leave on this. We just saw PGA Championship played on a Ross course, single digits, right? I'm going to set the total of the winner's total at 21.5. What you got, over or under?
Okay. Well, it's obviously something we've been talking about. And with the softer conditions, I'm going to go a little lower. But, they shot 13 or 14 at Holston Hills last week, which is a Donald Ross.
Okay.
But it was really firm. I'm going to go under that.
Okay.
So, I think you're going to see some low scores Thursday and Friday. So that total may jump up there, Thursday and Friday. But then I think when they start tucking some pins and the weather looks good for the weekend. So I think things will start drying out. And I think we're going under that number.
All right. Perfect.
Not lower, but less.
Okay.
Less under par.
Perfect. Brian Caruso, appreciate you, man. Best of luck this week at the UNC Health Championship.
Thank you so much.
What's up next? What's up next?
Look at that. The sun has truly come out here at Raleigh Country Club, which means it's going to rain this weekend because that's just the pattern that we're in right now. It rains the weekend, the entire weekend, starting Friday night all the way through Sunday. And then you have a gorgeous day like today. Perfect to check out the Pro-Am. And hopefully, I think the weekend, or at least Thursday and Friday, things should play out just fine here at Raleigh Country Club.
I think we have a certain overlap with our Canes fans. If you're a Canes season ticket holder, you're out here for free on Friday. Come check them out. And this event, you will enjoy the Empire Eats, the food from the Pit, City, Raleigh Times, you name it. They have it out here to this weekend. It's going to be a great event right here in downtown Raleigh. I'm excited that they moved it here.
You know what I haven't experienced yet? Mosquitoes. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what their mosquito plan is here at Raleigh Country Club. Maybe they use Mosquito Authority. I have no idea. I know that's what I use. I know with all the moisture that's happened the entire month of May. It's funny. It's like it's been cool and it's been nice and I've been wanting to hang out, but I know that hell's coming for us. Those North Carolina summers, and the mosquitoes will be out in full force, so you can keep that at bay best you can with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority.
Yeah, check them out at bugsbite.com. They're also on Twitter. That's No Mosquito NC. Go old-fashioned, 919-807-1951 if you want to give them a call. Not just bugs, Joe. I got mice. I've got termites.
You have all the things.
I got moisture under my house. You name it, I got it. And you name it, and Hayes Lancaster and his great people at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority can handle any of your issues with your home.
It's funny as we're doing a show outside remotely and I'm learning about mics and everything else. I'm like, oh, I can hear that trailer starting up and all the ambient noise. I feel like it's NPR right now, where he's like,
there's the birds.
It's Ovies and Giglio are at a golf course today. And you
NPR or ASMR.
And you can hear the birds in the background and you can hear the trailers picking up and getting going and things like that. Anyway, we're in startup mode. Maybe you find yourself in startup mode and maybe the triangle is not necessarily working out for you, or maybe you just want to change the scenery, but you don't know where to go for a good startup networking opportunity. That's where Network for Entrepreneurs in Wilmington comes into play. Check them out online, NEWILM.com. You might not know this about Wilmington. It goes beyond just the beaches. It goes beyond the breweries and cool places to hang out. It's a really cool hotspot for entrepreneurs and startups, and there's been a lot of successful exit stories, Joe, and you can check it out at NEWILM.com. ilm.com.
Yeah, you can find Jim R. Roberts on LinkedIn and Facebook. New, where the river of innovation meets an ocean of possibilities.
All right. You want to answer some Hey Joe questions?
Always.
We're moving on.
Oh, wait. Anthony's actually open today?
Yep. It's a Wednesday.
Oh, okay. I always forget about that. All right. So I'm a little out of my little comfort zone here. So pardon if you're watching on YouTube, although maybe we start with our friend Austin, who, you got a cough? We got a cough button.
It's so far away from me. You're in charge of that.
Okay. I'm in charge of that. Okay. Next thing you know, just tell me. No big deal. All right. This is from our friend Austin. Really enjoyed the end of yesterday's show. Big, every large conference call I've ever done energy. Yeah. So I think you learn real quick what happens when you try to run on battery while recording, huh?
Okay. Listen, I'm so jealous of your computer that you got a new computer.
I got a new computer.
All right.
I had to.
I don't have computer envy normally because I don't do a lot of things. Right?
Sure.
But truly, this MacBook Air, and they're never going to be a sponsor, so they can. I'm just going to tell
Apple
them.
does not need.
I'm just going to tell them to F off right now because these two BS USB-C ports right there. That's all you get on this computer that I spent way too much money on. By the way,
this MacBook Pro only has 3.
Yeah, but you also have a power source that doesn't include.
See, that was
So
I had a 16 MacBook Pro.
I'll just say it. This thing is tits on a bowl, man. Like, and I find myself with all of these attachments and all this other stuff, and I'm like, the basic problem still remains the same. I've only got 2 inputs.
Right.
So here I am. I'm trying to get the camera at the house. Right.
Yeah.
The mic at home is outstanding, and as you told me, the mic is more important than anything else.
It is.
Right? So sound is more important than anything else. Well, where does that leave me in my perpetually non-charged computer? And my phone's never charged. My computer's never charged. So I text you, and I'm like, I'm at 4%, man. It's just going to go dark. And the most frustrating part was I'm listening to you, and I'm like, I'm seeing you, and I'm kind of hearing you. And you were like, I can't hear you. I think we lost Joe. And I'm like,
no.
I'm like, yeah, we did.
Yeah,
it's fine. It was the end of the show. That's how you bow out gracefully.
Look, I mean, it hasn't even been a month since we started doing this because what is time? Well, I have no idea. It's been both the quickest and longest month ever at the same time. But yes, when all this happened, I was like, holy crap, we got to upgrade some stuff if we're going to make this work. So yes, I did, MacBook Pro, Rodecaster, cameras, all that stuff. If future me, present me, went back in time and told old me,
oh, you would never get hooked on the Apple.
Well, no. They're like, buddy, you won't believe what you can do with broadcast tech in 2023. And if you think the gadgets you have now are cool, just wait in terms of what you can do in the future. Because again, we're not that far removed from, shout out to David Modlin, my old colleague over at Capital Broadcasting. That man had to pack stuff and just bucket, tubs of stuff. And I remember having conversations with him years ago saying, there's got to be a better way to do this. He's like, nope, this is the slimmest profile we have.
Not if you want it done right.
No, well, exactly. Which Modlin always did right. Modlin's the best. So fast forward to today where I can literally shove most of this in a backpack and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I think JP would say it's amazing, and he would pay money to hear us watching golfers play through, like a Mystery Science Theater.
No, thing? So what this playthrough is? You go up to the tee box and you harass the people while they're trying to hit.
Oh, you can do that?
It's a thing on TikToks and the social media.
Oh, jeez. What are we like? I can go up there and be like, mashed potatoes.
No. It's more creative than that. Like the pink. Well, you can't make fun of pink, but you'd make fun of whatever they're wearing or their legs or their is that a senior shaft? Those kind of things. You get the hat. Like, what is your hat and stuff like that. You need a hat. I feel like, what do you need a hat for? Like,
I need a hat.
You're trying to, exactly.
I definitely
you got nothing on it. Like, so you start, you got to be a little bit
I'll burn
improv on your toes a little bit, but it is very good.
I feel like that's something we could do next year. A little more planning. I can set up shop next year. I'm telling you. We can set up shop, but who knows where technology will be by that point. Who knows? All right, let's go to, we already mentioned Brad at one point today, and he says, hey, ask Giglio why he did not even finish the round at Raleigh Country Club.
Well, the last time I was here was because we had a very important call with the Heister Automotive Group So, and then I left my club back on the 16th hole.
Right.
So now I'm in a full-on panic because I cannot afford to replace my golf clubs, which I redid everything during the pandemic, right? So I absolutely cannot afford to do that. So now I can't find my clubs. We're trying to close a deal with the Houston Automotive Group. I'm wandering around the Raleigh Country Club, and my whole sense of time was off that day too, because I thought we had teed off at 8:30, and we actually teed off at 9:30. So my math was way off that day.
Gotcha.
But not with my score. Like, I don't know what his problem is, because I shot a 42 on the front. That's as good as I could play this course. That's as good as I'll ever play this course, probably.
That sounds good.
More than likely. Other than missing a putt on 9 that I'm blaming Brad for or Scott Wood for anyway.
Fair enough. So we'll close on this from Chris. I've been trying to explain to I Hate Light Blue, our guy Steve.
Yeah.
Big State fan. For years, the ACC baseball quote-unquote tournament doesn't matter because it's not even set up to identify the best team. Now I hear Ovies refer to it as a jamboree and not a tournament for the same reasons, but I'm the one who's crazy. Steve really wants a title. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and they've changed that format so many different times that I think now it is just a naked play to try to get teams into the NCAA tournament, which of course it sometimes can have the opposite effect. Although I will say NC State beating Duke, I think, went a long way in getting them into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
so
I think it helped.
Some years it helps, some years it hurts.
Let's wrap it up for today's edition of Ovies and Giglio. I think it's a successful remote broadcast today, Joe.
I really like this mic. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay.
I know you said this is not as good as the other one that you got for me.
It is not as good as the other one I'm planning on purchasing, but this is a mic that we will be using for things like this.
Okay.
So we'll take this to Charlotte for the ACC.
You take a picture and you post it, because I mean this looks legit to me.
I did. No, I set it up. Like, I know. Look, y'all, I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah. This is legit.
So,
I'm just waiting for the air horn. Hit the air horn, will you?
Hold on a second.
You're reggae. Yeah, you can do it, but I just knew you had it.
Yeah, these are all the presets.
Then we just need the My Juices Flow. We could program that,
We could
right?
program it.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
there's music beds. There's a rim shot. There's a sad trombone.
Yeah, we're going to need a My Juices Flow all the time.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff on this Rodecaster, but I totally forgot about the...
Show it off, man. Show it off.
We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
What?
The ball was coming.
Oh. No, for real.
No, it was going.
We'll see you tomorrow because we didn't get hit in the head with a golf ball.